So you're thinking about breaking up with your 9 to 5? Well, before you ghost your boss to start living that entrepreneur's dream, here's some advice to keep you from waking up in a cold sweat at 2 a.m. every morning for the next year. Next on An Acquired Taste. I started my own entrepreneurship journey a little more than 10 years ago, and I did it because it was a bit of a forced issue. I was fired from my job. They gave me a few months severance, which created a little bit of slack in my financial situation, but I had to decide pretty quickly if I was going to go and get another job or if I was going to try my hand at entrepreneurship. In full disclosure, I had always worked in entrepreneurial environments with limited resources, with limited time, limited access, lots of pressure. Most of the decisions rolled back up to me. It was a little bit like running your own business, but I wasn't technically an entrepreneur. I hadn't put it all on the line. And so I had to make a decision if I was ready to do that. So here are the things that I would pass along to you if you are also considering making the leap into entrepreneurship. The first one is the most basic, which is what is your financial situation and how are you going to manage the risk of being your own revenue source? Because that's what you are as an entrepreneur. Loss of that steady income is a huge disruption to your life. And if you're married, if you have a family, if you have other people that rely on your income in that 9 to 5, tread carefully on this because it is the cornerstone of establishing your potential to be successful. When I was kind of forced to make the choice and ultimately made the choice to jump into entrepreneurship, I started thinking about, okay, I've got this little bit of severance. I have a little bit of runway, which is a term you hear in startups all the time. And I adopted that same mentality. I have a little bit of time to figure this out. I have a little bit of time to get my feet underneath me. But I had about 6 to 12 months of financial runway on top of or in combination with that severance. And I treated it as that was my timeline. I had that much gap. I had that much of a safety net. And so what I started doing was thinking about any revenue that I was generating in this new consulting business I started as extending that runway. I put myself on a very set distribution every month. It's basically what I paid myself. If I made more than that in any month, it just went to creating more of a safety net and creating more of a runway. So I was always constantly thinking about this revenue, what does it represent as far as the short term, but maybe more importantly, in the medium and long term. Fortunately, I didn't need to dip into that severance package money, and it ended up just being a bit of a safety net, which was incredibly helpful. But make no mistake, my lifestyle changed. It had to. My family's lifestyle changed, but it quickly became the new normal. And the one benefit that came out of that was my risk tolerance improved probably tenfold. So the things that would make me nervous before just seemed like the next challenge. And so from that, my mentality changed and I did grow as a professional. Did you know that about 90% of the people who watch these videos are not subscribed to our channel, but 20% of every view is a returning viewer? That means so many of you out there are watching this content all the time. If you'd like to support the channel and you like the content we're creating, please consider subscribing. Back to the episode. Can you consider doing this as a side hustle on nights and weekends? A lot of successful entrepreneurs have built their companies and built their startups on nights and weekends in their spare time while they still had a full-time job. It's not easy. The last thing you want to do after you've worked all day is go home and work some more, not spend time with your family, not spend time with your friends, not have any hobbies. But it is a safer route if you're not quite sure if this concept's going to fly or not. This is particularly helpful when you're testing a market for your services. Do you really have something here? Is it truly differentiated? Can you drive revenue from this offer? Or do you need some more time working on it and refining the concept or the approach before you quit your job? The third thing I want you to consider is really boring, but it is the legal and the administrative kind of considerations of everything. So do you have any legal restrictions from your current employer? Do you have a non-compete? Do you have a non-solicitation? Do you have any kind of intellectual property in impairments, things that you developed there that you want to take out on your own? You probably don't own. The company owns those. You need to understand those before you take that leap. You got to register your business. You got to secure any IP that you do have, any IP that you are going to develop. How are you going to protect that? And understand the tax implications of self-employment. I use this example all the time with people, but I hired a CPA really early in my entrepreneurial journey, and they uncovered something that ended up saving me tens of thousands of dollars, and it was as basic as how my company was structured. I didn't have it structured in a way that I could avoid paying the self-employment tax. Make no mistake, I didn't do anything illegal here. I just exercised good tax avoidance, not tax evasion, tax avoidance, to make sure that I wasn't paying taxes I didn't have to pay. And I would have never found that had I not engaged with a CPA. Please do it. I highly recommend it. It will make all the difference in the world to you. The fourth consideration I want you to make is your mindset and your personal strengths. This is one where people overestimate their ability to suffer. 9-to-5 careers have a way of softening us, has a way of rounding the edges, the guarantees of paychecks, of health benefits, a safe and clean office environment to work in, coworkers, other support systems, promotions, escalating pay maybe. You have to ask yourself, if you're truly willing to forgo all of that safety, what will you do when you have no backup? It's all on you. When something cataclysmic happens in your business, you are the one that has to fix it. You're the only one to fix it. There's no one coming to save you. People fold under these conditions. Once the coolness and the novelty of being an entrepreneur wears off, how are you going to stay motivated to put one foot in front of the other, clawing for every inch of progress day after day for months, if not years? My best advice to you is to embrace every required adaptation. Become adaptable, and that will make you resilient by nature. Nothing is going to go the way you hoped. And I'm not talking about over the course of a week or a month or a year. I'm talking about every single day, something's going to throw you for a loop. How do you adapt to that? How quickly do you adapt to that? How effectively do you adapt to that? That's going to make you more resilient, and that's going to make you more successful as an entrepreneur. You may know the expression, I either win or I learn. And besides being a cheesy bumper sticker premise, it's actually the correct mindset. There will be long stretches of time that you are failing much more often than you are winning. Learning from those mistakes not only keeps you sane and your wits about you, but will also sharpen your skills and dramatically flatten your learning curve. Most importantly, be brutally honest with yourself. Not everybody can do this, and that's okay, but it's better to figure that out on the front end before you tell your boss to take a hike and you walk out the door. The fifth consideration I have to put in here, it's pretty boring, and I think, frankly speaking, very straightforward, but you've got to have some business planning and some market research. So I'm going to take a little bit of shorthand on this one because I think this is painfully obvious. Just make sure that what you are planning to offer actually has a market, that you have a reasonable chance at success. Again, even more shorthand, are you solving an actual problem that people are willing to pay to solve? Just remember that 80% of entrepreneurship is not just what you're working on, but when you're working on that, how you are prioritizing those limited resources. And I cannot stress this enough, you must ruthlessly prioritize everything because you don't have enough money and you don't have enough time, and you got to get it right in the shortest period of time possible. The next thing I want you to consider is how you're building your support network. To me, this must start with your spouse or your partner. If they cannot support this endeavor, you have to reevaluate that because they'll be the cornerstone of all support going forward. When I started my first business, I actually asked my wife for permission. I'm not making that up. I told her what I wanted to do and that this would be, quote, the family business, because I knew it was going to take both of us and it would take sacrifice from her and from my family to support me in this journey. Thankfully, she agreed, and here we are, better than ever 10 years later. But that's not to say we didn't have bumps and bruises along the way. And it's not to say that my family didn't make sacrifices. They did. Make sure you're finding peers who are also entrepreneurs that you can take out to coffee, that you can be very honest with. Peers that are going to tell you exactly what they think. They're not going to sugarcoat anything, and they're going to basically tell you what you're about to do is dumb, or what you're about to do is going to be a problem, or that this is a better path forward. Those kinds of peers and that kind of support is going to be crucial to you, not just as you start the business, but as you start to grow the business, as you start to evolve within that business. You're about to find out how good your professional network is. Do you have 2,000 random LinkedIn connections, or do you have a few dozen people that are actually invested in your success and want to help you succeed, that they're going to spend the time to actually help you succeed? Remember, first customers are likely to come directly from those professional networks or from a referral of that professional network. I'm living proof of it. I would have never started my first business had I not had a few people that were willing to make connections for me and help me find the next opportunity. I'll be forever grateful to those people, and I would do just about anything to reciprocate. So make sure that you're looking at your professional network as a major part of that support. The last thing I want you to consider is a contingency plan. What if this doesn't work? What are you prepared to do to make a living and to support your family and yourself? Have a backup plan. Think about how you can diversify your income. Are you willing to drive an Uber? Are you willing to take a part-time job? Maybe do some consulting gigs on the side? And set a deadline for yourself. If you haven't reached a specific product milestone, revenue target, budget restriction by X date, you can accept defeat graciously and then put in place that contingency plan. Not every venture will succeed despite what people tell you. Failure is an option. Have a plan in case of failure. That plan will also help to mitigate some of your risk. So there you go. Are you ready to take that leap into entrepreneurship? Get rid of all that safety net, the bumpers that surround you, the bubble wrap that has been your career so far? If so, I wish you all the luck in the world. I hope this advice was helpful. Thanks so much for checking out the episode. As always, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.